What a time to be alive. Grand final week. We're back in the studio. How good.
Mate, it's all happening. It's all coming together at the right time of the year, just like Richmond's form. It's beautiful.
It absolutely is, and it's been a while since I've said what a time to be alive, and it feels great.
Well, this year hasn't really given us many opportunities for you to say that, so it's good.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, it's, as I said, it's good to be back in the studio, face to face, instead of over Zoom. It's been, 3 months? I reckon since July we've been doing Zoom podcasts, haven't we?
It's been about that, definitely, since about July. So it's a long time coming, but we're back. Well, everything's almost back to normal.
Yeah, well, no awkward delays.
No, exactly right. I remember there was a couple of people that called me out on a few times where you'd ask me a question and I'd stare bluntly at you for a good 5-10 seconds. So it's good, none of that anymore.
Like we're doing a live cross to France.
Yeah, we're only doing about 20k's difference, but at least if it happens now, it'll just be me brain fading, not the internet's fault. So
absolutely. So it's good. It makes it much easier, and it's a lot easier to talk doing this as well. So. And there's a lot to talk about. As I said at the top, it's grand final week. The Tigers are in it again. It's the same, isn't it? Do you feel like a Hawthorn supporter?
No, I don't feel like an arrogant douchebag yet, but it's no, I take that back. It's it's getting pretty exciting. Yeah, to know that your team is going to be in contention. For the last few years, it's pretty overwhelming considering, as you know, we went through a pretty rough period there. So you definitely enjoy these moments and soak them in while they last.
Yeah, absolutely. I can't imagine what you're going through. I've never really experienced it, but I can imagine the nerves and the excitement and everything with that. It's I'm very jealous, and hopefully one day on the podcast we're talking about grand final week with the Blues in it.
It's a podcast still exists.
Hopefully we're not in a wheelchair and in a nursing home doing it. But no, I'm very excited for you, mate, and it's going to be a great game. But we'll start with the news throughout the week, and it all started Brownlow night, didn't it? With Lachie Neale, as expected, took home the Brownlow medal in pretty easy fashion.
Yeah, Chucky Neale, I think he was predicted to win it from about round 4, and what did he win by? Over 10 votes, I think it was in the end?
10 votes from Travis Boak.
And then with Boak, and he had 31 votes in an 18
it's the most
season.
Ever votes per game.
Yeah. So he's broken history there. Imagine if he had a full 23 or 22 round season.
Could have hit 40 votes.
Yeah, it would have broken the record for sure. So unbelievable season from Lachie Neale, but I think the only dour side of that was he had to present himself the medal. What were your thoughts on that? I know that's been talked about.
It's embarrassing, isn't it?
It's bad.
I mean, they're all going around shaking hands and stuff, but
hugging.
But they can't put a medal around him.
And can I just mention, I know you're aware of this as well, but in the same room that Lachie Neale presented himself to Brownlow, there was Simon Black, former Brownlow medalist, also the ambassador for the Premiership Cup, his coach, the club president. Surely there was someone there that could have given him the Brownlow medal. They didn't have to give it to himself.
It's incredible. I feel sorry. Well, not feel sorry for him because he just won the Brownlow, but I sort of feel sorry that he didn't get the proper Brownlow night for him, the celebration.
Yeah, exactly right.
That's the whole history behind it. Usually it's the previous Brownlow medalist hands it over to him.
Yeah.
So to hand it to your subjects, you'd feel pretty lonely doing that, wouldn't you?
Well, I guess the only probably more isolated Brownlow medal ceremony would have been the Trent Cotchin and Sam Mitchell one, and the delayed one a few years later when they just did it from friends and family, and that was about it. But at least they had their friends and family that, they had nobody really, just his partner. So, look, still exciting. You don't really feel bad for him because he's just won a Brownlow, every kid's dream. But yeah, definitely the fashion that he had to deliver it to himself was probably a bit subpar.
Yeah, it's 2020. It's definitely not the most bizarre thing we've seen this season, but it doesn't surprise anyone that is what happened. So, but no, very deserving he was, and it was probably one of the more. Usually favourite. Oh, not every year. The favourites don't win it every year, but I think Lachie and Neale was such an overwhelming favourite that he was never going to lose that, was he?
No. Like I said, from about round 4 onwards, you knew that Lachie Neale just had that in the bag. There was no one taking it from him.
Yeah, so it was a pretty boring count, to be honest. Overall.
Yeah, I think especially because he led so early as well. Like, it wasn't even like he had to claw back and had a good half of the season or something like that. He just dominated the whole year. Yeah. So from the very beginning, he was getting 3 votes.
Yeah, absolutely. So, well deserved, and just dominated all season, and obviously took out the more prestigious award in the Pressure Point MVP, didn't he?
He did, which I'm sure he's pretty rapt about, and we're obviously waiting to see him in person to give it to him. We want to present it to him properly.
That's why he hasn't got it yet.
Exactly. He's the inaugural winner. You want to do it properly. You don't want to do it over Zoom or something. So we're going to give it to him properly, and I'm sure he'll be jumping for joy when he's able to have that opportunity.
Yes, he will. There are also a couple of awards that were given out that night as well. The Mark and Goal of the Year. Sam Walsh took out the Mark of the Year. Personally, I think it was great. Not really a biased opinion. I mean, yeah, it's obviously great. A Carlton player did win it, but it was such a courageous mark. Going against the flight of the ball with Charlie Dixon coming the other way. It's pretty special.
It was. It was almost Leo Barry-esque the way he flew across the pack. Obviously, different stage. But yeah, like you said, Charlie Dixon coming at him. It was funny in the interview after the mark. He goes, "Did you know Charlie was coming?" He goes, "I didn't, but it was probably a good thing I didn't know because I probably wouldn't have done it if I knew he was there," which I don't blame him. I wouldn't run in front of Charlie Dixon either. But no, very courageous mark. I guess some of the more traditionalists probably, some people argue that they want to see the high-flying marks win those awards, but I think for the courage itself, it's definitely worthy.
Yeah, absolutely. I have no issues with that, and I think it's one of many awards that he's going to win throughout his career, which is scary for a 19, 20-year-old. So more to come for Walshy. And the goal of the year, though, was my biggest concern. And this one might be biased, but Jack Nunes, how did he not win it?
Someone call the police.
Oh, mate, there's a robbery. Someone call the police, honestly. That was ridiculous. I mean, goal after the siren from that angle, 50 out in the wet against Freo in front of their home fans.
I guess it just depends what you take into consideration. Is it just, do you consider the fact that it was after the siren and all that pressure was on him, or is it just purely the angle of the kick and where it was from? Because when you look at Dacos and he took on a player, got the handball, got it back, it was a nice look. I think Dacos' goal was very nice, very reminiscent of his old man. But Nunes was probably pretty stiff as well after the siren. But then Robbie Gray would be stiff to miss as well because he did a very similar kick.
That's true.
And he didn't even get in contention for it. So I think Nunes is probably stiff, but I do think that he lost to a goal that in my eyes was pretty damn special.
Probably better on the eye. Dacos
I think, probably on the eye was a bit better, but I guess for a Carlton supporter as well, that passion that you'd have watching that goal would probably be that's surely.
Yeah, I think for me, that's probably the best moment of the year.
Yeah.
Just in terms of, general sort of footy moment. But, I mean, Dacos was probably the goal that everyone sort of looks at as that's worthy of goal of the year just for his banana and everything else that he did. So, but I still think it's a robbery, and that's fine.
And that's final.
Big news over the last 48 hours was Jeremy Cameron nominating Geelong, which is what is going on at GWS. They're losing all their players.
No one wants to be there. They're honestly becoming a bit of an Essendon at the moment. We were laughing at Essendon only a week or two ago for them losing all their players, but GWS is in a similar boat right now, and considering they played a grand final last year, that's very concerning.
Do you think they have culture issues as well?
I think there has to be some sort of culture issue there. I can't imagine why players would want to leave, for that reason, or for any other reason. Because they're still a talented side. It just must be culture, and maybe the direction isn't quite there anymore. I'm not sure, but I think there's definitely something wrong within the four walls at the Giants.
I think losing all those prelims and then obviously the grand final last year, I think it's probably hurt them all mentally.
Yeah.
I feel like they feel like they've lost their chance now of winning that flag. They've had multiple opportunities. What was it, three or four prelims and a grand final?
Yeah, they've had so many opportunities. And I want to take you back to last year's grand final as well. They finished, sixth or something like that. It might have been in the low. So they weren't even top four. So they were close to the bottom end of the eight. Obviously had a great final series to make it to the grand final. And then this year they missed out altogether. So I guess it was probably almost not downhill slope from last year because they made the big dance, but in terms of a full season, I think that rapid decline, I guess, from playing on all those prelims would have to hurt mentally and take a toll on the players for sure. Yeah,
I think that is what's happened, and maybe living in the hub, they've probably realised that they don't like a few of the players. Who knows? Something's gone wrong there, and this could be time up for GWS in terms of playing finals anymore. They might have to go into some sort of rebuild and start again, which is a shame because they had arguably the best list in the competition probably 2 years ago, didn't they?
Oh, they did. They honestly did. And if I were to take you back, let's say 2 years ago, and I asked you who's going to win a flag first, GWS or the Gold Coast Suns, who would you say?
Well, you said GWS.
And who do you say now?
Jeez, I just feel weird saying Gold Coast though.
It's a weird feeling, but it's almost the case.
Yeah.
You almost would say Gold Coast, considering it looks like they're going to have to go through a rebuild with some of the players leaving. But on the other hand as well, Geelong just don't want to become a poor team, do they? They've been good for the last 15 years, and they're bringing Jeremy Cameron over now as well, by the looks of it. And they just know how to set themselves up and sort of never have to go through that rebuild.
That's the thing though with free agency. It's the rich get richer.
They do.
And it's a bit of a... I mean, Geelong... That's why Geelong have never bottomed out, because success breeds success.
It does. Even before their 2007 flags, I'm going right back to then, they were playing in prelims and stuff before that. Obviously, they won the flag, won 3 in a succession of, 6 years or something like that. But they've never really dropped off. They've never fallen off that cliff. Obviously, it's famous that they've lost so many prelims, and that's unlucky, but they've been right up there.
Yeah.
And with signings like this, I guess it's similar to, you could almost say, to when Richmond brought Tom Lynch over, the rich get richer.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's hard for teams like North Melbourne and Melbourne to a certain extent as well to get good, because it's just the top teams that are attracting the star players in the competition. I mean, you guys are a much better team with Tom Lynch, aren't you?
Oh, 100%. Yeah. Look, 2017, we got away with the one key forward, but, obviously you've seen this year as well, Jack's had a couple of quiet performances, and I think his age is probably getting to him a little bit, and that's where having Lynch has been super handy. And, I mean, look at the qualifying final against Brisbane. If we only lost by 15 points, you put Lynch into that side, different story, I think. So, I mean, obviously it worked out fine anyway, but yeah, those sort of players just can even make good teams somehow better.
Yeah. And speaking of Tom Lynch, how's the Bundy and Coke shower that he got last week?
Mate, someone's trying to get him pissed before the grand final, get him in a bit of trouble, but that's just not on. That just goes to prove that Port Adelaide fans really are the most feral in the competition, aren't they? I mean, when you think of feral, you probably automatically think of Richmond, Collingwood, Essendon, Carlton to an extent, and then because they're the top 4 big clubs. But people forget Port Adelaide; they're scumbags.
They are.
Not all of them, but there's a lot. There's a lot of feral supporters.
That's probably a generous word as well to use for it. I know I definitely used a few words for him on the weekend, and definitely can't say that on air. But yeah, I think they're... I mean, I love the passion. I love the passion that they show, but they do cross the line a fair bit. And it's not the first time they've done something like this.
Yeah, and look, passion you can all relate to. I mean, that's why we all go to the footy. It's why we support it. It's why, you listen to footy podcasts like this, the best one going around. Yeah. Especially to happen to probably footy's nice guy and Tom Lynch as well, just to do that to him. He's so well loved by everybody in the football world. And to just do that to him, I mean, and Port stood up and really stripped the guy of his membership. I can't say that with a straight face.
Maybe Tom Lynch asked for the Bundy and Coke shower.
He probably did. So cool me off.
So yeah, I don't know. It is, yeah. Like I love how Port Adelaide fans make their ground a fortress through their passion and everything. But yeah, there's lines you can't cross, and that's just one of them, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. But I think on the other hand as well, I do want to say that I know it was all over the news. So we're not the first to break this, but that. The kid that Tom Lynch spoke to after the game, and his old man that, said, that's not how you lose. You don't lose like that. And I want you to go say, and the kid went and said, congratulations to Tom. That's a good show of sportsmanship. I'm not telling everybody to go to the end of the, the top of the ground and start congratulating the opposition, because you're not going to do that realistically. But there's no need to throw Bundy and Cokes at them or get personal. I think once you get personal, you take it to another level.
For sure.
So
I mean, they're footy players.
Yeah, at the end of the day...
Just judge them on that if you aren't on the footy.
Yeah, exactly. Judge them on their talent or, the way the team's playing, but don't have a go at them personally.
No,
especially really nice guys like Tom Lynch.
Yeah. So what you're trying to say is, if Dangerfield lifted up the cup this weekend and you could be there, and you were in striking distance, you wouldn't pour Bundy and Coke over him?
I would, purely because we're at the Gabba, and if I get banned from there, it's no big deal. If it was at the G, I'd probably resist because I don't want to get banned from there. But I'd be very tempted to. Just that smug look on Dangerfield's face. But look, he's one of those players though that his resume has everything except a premiership.
Yeah.
So I think look, when you look back in the history books in 10 years' time, I might be over the loss by then if we were to lose, and can probably see it for the moment that it was, but I definitely wouldn't be happy with Tom Hawkins. But I definitely wouldn't happy with Patrick Dangerfield lifting the cup.
Well, speaking of Tom Hawkins, he was in quarantine, but I think he has just been cleared of COVID as well, hasn't he?
Unfortunately, yeah. He's been tested negative for COVID, so he doesn't have that. I think it was just a sore throat, but I think COVID can have onset... what do you call it? You can get tested a couple of days after and you may still have it, isn't it?
Imagine that. Imagine the day before the grand final he gets tested again.
Well, I'm keeping my look. I don't want anyone to get COVID because it's obviously very serious and it's killed a lot of people. But
go send the...
But if he gets it, I won't cry.
Go send the Wuhan bat there.
Go send the bat. I'll get what do you call it? I'll get into his Uber Eats order and just put something extra in there for him. But look, it's obviously you want to see the best players out there on grand final day, and you don't want to win and you always have that thing, well, would you have won if Hawkins played? You know, you want to beat the best teams. And
absolutely.
We had that argument last year when we beat them in the prelim that they're missing Hawkins and Duncan, and we had that question raised. So you want the best team out there, and I'm glad Tom's tested negative.
Yeah. All right. Give me your thoughts on the prelim last week against Port. I know we touched on it a bit with Tom Lynch and that, but give us your thoughts on the game. I mean, it was one of the most brutal games you'll see. It was tight all game, and it was wet too. So, which is just the way Richmond like it.
It was wet. It made for a sloppy game though. Obviously, it wasn't very high scoring. Like you said, tight contest the whole game. I just don't think when humans were created, they were created to watch those kind of games because the heart just wasn't ready to take that kind of excitement. I'm telling you, it was beaten through my chest. I was on the edge of the whole game, but it was just, it was an incredible game of footy, I thought. A lot of scoring, and obviously, Dustin Martin was best on ground that day, and he kicked 2 goals, and normally 2 goals is like, it's not bad, but 2 goals out of a team 6, that's a big chunk of their goals. So I thought it was a great game. Obviously, a few contentious decisions, deliberate out of bounds, paid all night. They paid it all night for ones that I definitely thought didn't deserve to be. And then that last one, of course, everyone decided to make a fuss about because it cost someone the game. What were your thoughts on it?
I think that was 100% deliberate.
Yeah.
The Hartlett ones.
The Hartlett one.
Yeah, definitely. I think it was. Where else was he going?
Well, I mean, the argument's there that Tom Rockcliffe was right there. Like, he tapped it out and Rockcliffe was pretty much running. But I don't know. Did he see Rockcliffe and it just looked... I don't know. I think, look, the way they paid it all night, someone would just kick it out of a pack and it bounced out of bounds, deliberate. Well, how is that deliberate? You know what I mean?
That's true.
And I think,
But if that wasn't paid, would there be a story about it?
Well, I think there'd have to be questions just because of the amount of times they paid it throughout the whole night. So how do you pay it all night and then not in a dire moment? Like, I know it's a dire moment of the game, but you've got to be consistent as an umpire. Before those AFL supporters out there that think that Richmond are gifted by the AFL, the umpire that paid that decision has been dropped for the grand final. So he won't be there gifting us any free kicks this weekend. So just to let everyone else know that. But look, I thought it was there, and I guess for Richmond supporters, it was a pretty sweet moment considering Hartlett came out during the day or the day before, something like that, and made those comments about Tom Lynch saying that everyone wants to see his season end, and look whose season ended up ending, champ.
That's why you don't talk a big game.
No.
Just don't. It's too risky.
Yeah, but then also I didn't see Hartlett say that, but a lot of those times those comments are taken out of context a little bit as well. But you don't. Obviously, you pump your own team up, but I don't think it's. I mean, look, I think it's good for the game taking shots at people. But
it is.
But you look a bit silly.
Yeah.
When
if it doesn't come off, it's a huge risk. Yeah.
Like I think Dersma, I'm very open about how I'm not a fan of Xavier Dersma. I think he's just a tosser, but like. He does that bow and arrow celebration in the first quarter and all that. It's like, do it. Like, there's a time and place that kind of celebration. Whatever. He gets the fans going. He is what he is. But when he kicked that goal and he ran straight up to Tom Lynch and started giving it to him.
I hated that.
And it's like, well, do it if you're 5 goals up. Don't do it in the first quarter.
But, he went out of his way, sprinted to him. But, was there a lead up? Did Tom Lynch even do anything in the lead up to that play?
I'm not sure. To be honest with you, I didn't see it. I just think Port are trying to... they know that Lynch has got a hot head.
Yeah.
They're probably just trying to rile him up. Yeah, they're just trying to rile him up to get a few cheap free kicks out of him, which they're every chance at doing the way he's played this year. But, it's just get out of it. You know what I mean? People are quick to have a shot at Lynch, but, you don't have a go at players that are just... that's not necessary. Yeah. You know what I mean? They weren't even playing on each other. It wasn't like Lynch would have said anything to him. He might... When he was lining up, he probably said a few words, but you do that to every player. So, But I mean, you know what? You've got egg in your face.
Yeah, exactly right. He tried to be tough, and it didn't look tough at all.
Well, I'll tell you what definitely didn't look tough as well. I don't know if you remember this part, when he dropped a mark in the goal square, an open, uncontested mark, chest mark in the goal square. Was it last quarter or was third quarter maybe?
Yeah, okay.
Something like that. Yeah, that doesn't look tough.
Yeah, exactly right.
Lynch should have gone and given it to him after dropping an open chest mark. So, anyway.
Must have had the bow and arrow in his mind already.
He was getting prepared to celebrate.
All right. Well, it was a quality game, and a couple of players that came up clutch at the end was Toby Nankervis and Kane Lambert. You must be happy with them. Oh,
Toby especially, being the only real ruckman left in the team at the moment, with Soldo injured and us using Dave Asprey as a backup. Incredible, I thought, from Nank. I think he really takes on the responsibility of being the sole ruckman, and he actually performs better. So he could be even a smoky for the Norm Smith next week if he has a good game, just because the way he gets around the ground, and you can see he gets in front of key position forwards and just stops them because he gets in their way, and he just takes marks like that, and he did it when it counted. And then Lambert, obviously, he may have been gifted that goal from the boundary with the deliberate out of bounds, but you still got to kick that.
Still had to kick it, yeah.
You still got to kick that. And then that other one that dribbled through, didn't really see much of Kane all night, but he stood up when we needed him.
He's so underrated. He's one of my favourite Richmond players. He's just so tough and so good.
He is, and he's honestly, people don't see this, but he's one of those players. I mean, every club has this type of player as well, but he's the type of player that allows someone like Dustin Martin to do what he does because he covers for him, and people don't really see that as much because you just look at Dusty. But Kane Lambert does so much work that it goes unnoticed, and it was good to see him get some reward for all his effort.
Yeah, 100%. Well, the other prelim we'll move on to was the game between Brisbane and Geelong at the Gabba on the Saturday night, and I mean, it was pretty tight up until really the end of the third quarter where Geelong started to kick away a bit, and then they really kicked away in the last quarter to win by 40 points. So, scary if you're a Richmond supporter.
Very scary, very scary. Brisbane were pretty much within 10, 15 points most of the game. Geelong had the lead the whole time, but Brisbane were thereabouts, and mind you, they were pretty inaccurate, and they missed a couple of chances to really hit the front. So were Geelong, though. Geelong missed a lot of shots on goal, so it goes both ways, I guess. I was spewing with this result a little bit. I just thought it would have been a nice story for Brisbane to make it to the grand final. Nothing against Geelong, it's purely just for the story of it. I like good stories in footy. I think Brisbane making a grand final, the only year it's going to be at their home ground, would have been something special. But I think, like we've spoken about before off air as well, I think Ablett playing in a grand final is just, in his last game. Yeah. I don't want to see him win, obviously, but that's another special story in itself. And how good was he? Yeah,
he's so good. I mean, he kicked those 2 quick goals, and then that second, what was it? Did he kick 3 for the night? Or he kicked
4.
He kicked 4.
I'm pretty sure he kicked 4.
Well, with that one from 50 out of the centre square, that was vintage Ablett.
Vintage Ablett. Vintage Ablett.
So he's it's good that he's retiring with still a lot. Still playing quite well.
Yeah, his performance hasn't dropped. Obviously, he's not playing full games in the midfield like he used to. He's gone up forward, but he can still, still put on a good game up forward. Especially with Dangerfield throwing the ball to him. He doesn't need a handball at Dangerfield. He can throw it.
Yeah.
Now, look, umpire's in the wrong position. You're not going to see everything, but we're gifted, I guess, watching it on TV with those sort of angles. But yeah, look, he was gifted the goal, but at the end of the day, you still have to kick that, and that wasn't an easy kick. So it just shows how good Ablett still is.
Yeah, incredible. And it would be great for him to finish up with another flag. Would be a great story. It's for arguably the greatest player of all time. So it would be a good story. And then obviously Dangerfield, the player that he is, the career that he's had to finally get that flag that is the only thing missing from his locker, would be another great story as well. But personally, I'm not too fussed about that because I feel like he can be pretty smug at times, Danger, can't he?
He can be smug, but I guess he's arguably the best player in the game.
Yeah, absolutely. You know what I mean? He definitely deserves it.
Yeah, you've won a Brownlow, you've won best and fairest. You're so close to winning it all, and I guess you have that capability to walk around a little bit smug like that, I guess. But obviously, from my point of view especially, I don't want to see him win it. Not this year anyway.
Yeah.
Once Richmond decide to decline, he can maybe jump up and take his spot. But quick random one, but if you could take Gary Ablett Jr. or Senior, both in their prime, and have them at Carlton right now, which one would suit the Blues more, do you reckon?
Junior?
Yeah,
because we need a midfielder.
Yeah.
And would you even call it Gary Ablett Jr. an A grader? He's probably past that, isn't he?
Well, whatever's above A.
Yeah,
whatever's above A plus, whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, he's the best.
Yeah, he is. I'd take him just on pure need.
Yeah, pure need.
Absolutely.
Pure need.
Yeah, geez, it would be good. But
see, I'd be taking Senior.
Yeah, you would.
I'd be taking Senior. Rewalt's on his last legs. Yeah. Lynch and Senior in the forward line. Ooh.
All right, well, let's get stuck into the grand final. It's obviously the big game between Richmond and Geelong at the Gabba, though, which definitely, as we said, it's a bit bittersweet up there. Imagine this at the MCG grand final week. Right now, we'd be filming this on Swan Street, wouldn't we? Oh, we would. We'd be out there recording fans live. It'd be unreal. And I mean, I know a lot of people have had this experience as well, but especially the last couple of years, I've been lucky enough to have Richmond in this position, and the build-up and the atmosphere in Melbourne. You can't explain it. Yeah. It's hard to explain, and I guess even the excitement of logging on, wondering if you're going to get tickets for the game. You know what I mean? Like, that's a thrill. Like, people go and do extreme sports and stuff like that. Try getting tickets for a grand final. You're not guaranteed. That is a thrill. Yeah. And obviously, we're still in a grand final. I'm not complaining. But it does definitely take something away from it, not being able to go there. And
even not being able to fly up to go and watch the game. Like, I've flown interstate to watch footy before, so I definitely would have been doing it if we were allowed, but that was taken away. But in saying that, look, they're still expecting a 30,000 crowd. That's it. 30,000 plus crowd. I don't know what I was trying to say there. They're expecting a 30,000 people crowd.
Yeah.
So it's still exciting, and I think it's going to be great, and especially for Victoria. I think the people in Geelong as well are allowed to go to pubs and enjoy it a little bit more too. So if we can do the right thing just for this week, and Richmond were able to get up, we'd be able to have maybe a belated ceremony and celebrate. I just think if everyone does things properly, we might be able to turn this around and, make something out of it, considering, there's no hope of us being there. So.
Yeah, absolutely. I think there'll be celebrations for either team down the track, regardless of what. I think they'll definitely organise something down the track, won't they?
Oh, they'll have to. They'll have to. Now, from a mutual supporters' point of view, have you noticed a lack of, emotion in the air and passion?
Oh, definitely.
In being in Melbourne with nothing?
Doesn't feel like grand final week this week.
No, it doesn't.
Usually it's one of the best weeks of the year, and it doesn't feel like it at all. Especially being a night grand final at the Gabba, it just doesn't. And obviously with us not being able to do anything, it's just got a different feel about it this year. And the Brownlow medal was on a Sunday night, not a Monday night.
Not a Monday, it was all bizarre.
Yeah, it's just a bit different this year, but we've still got footy and we've still got a grand final, which is great. And it's the end of October now, so we've got a month less to wait for the next season, which is a positive to look at. Especially as a Carlton supporter, I'm always looking forward to next season. So it's exciting.
You're looking forward to next season after round one.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's obviously very exciting. I'm excited to see how the game goes as well, because there's two contrasting styles of footy. Geelong are more controlled. They like to chip it around to each other, make other teams work for it, and they keep a lot of uncontested possession, whereas Richmond, more chaotic. They love that surging style of football, and they just try and play on as much as possible. So I think Richmond will try and stop Geelong from doing that sort of controlled football, but Geelong have done it pretty well the last couple of weeks, and they've just really worn teams out.
But no, I think just where you guys have been the last few years, I think your experience will hold up, and I think you'll get the job done against them. I don't think you've got anything to worry about, but you're always worried for your own team, aren't you?
Oh, very much so. Just because that football's such a game of inches, I guess, but it's always what happens on the day. You just, one team could be better all season and, just come out in the day and people go, oh, Richmond won around 17. It's like, yeah, but Geelong were missing a few. But then Richmond were missing a few as well. So it's just, it's too hard to call now, but I think Danger's desperation to win a flag and then Richmond's experience will clash, and I think it'll be close anyway. I don't see either team blowing the other side out.
Yeah, I think it's going to be really close. And is it meant to rain as well?
I heard it was supposed to, but I checked this morning and I think it's dropped back down to like 20% or something like that. Okay. But you can guarantee that it'll be dewy at the Gabba like it has been all season.
Yeah.
But Geelong have had a good record there this year.
Yeah.
Everybody's jumped on how good Geelong have been at the Gabba, forgetting that Richmond hadn't lost there in 15 years. Because we lost one game there by 15 points the other night, but a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah.
But in saying that, I don't know if you saw their winning margin there at Geelong. They average a 53-point win at the Gabba this year.
Because they might win by 40 points.
Yeah, so they're averaging a pretty good score, but a lot of those teams are probably, you not to be arrogant, but you wouldn't put them in Richmond's category.
No, not at all. I just think, but this is what Richmond do. People are like, oh, Geelong's record at the Gabbers. Look at the margin they're beating teams by, and then people that will start persuading people to pick Geelong, and then Richmond will come out and absolutely dominate. I think this is what you guys do, isn't it?
Well, I mean, I guess it was sort of the case last week. People didn't see us going to Port Adelaide and beating top of the ladder at their home ground, home crowd. And I know we only just did it by 6 points, but a win's a win. Yeah. It's all you need to do to move to the next game, and that's what we've done. And look, I think we have every chance to do that. Like you said, the experience we've got, the players, they've been there before. The nerves might not get to them as much. Who knows? So I think it's... Oh, I don't know. I'm getting nervous talking about it, to be honest. I'm scared. I get scared while talking about this sort of stuff.
We love it. We love Grand Final week and Grand Final day. It's great. And I just hope I'm in your position one of these years.
Look, coming from a Richmond supporter, it can happen when you least expect it.
Correct.
And with some of the trades you're talking about getting,
who
knows? I remember 2016, we got told we're going to sign Caddy and Prestia. We won a flag next year. So I don't want to say you're going to win the flag next year, but you never know.
You never know. Yeah, well, I hope you're right. All right, well, let's move on to our debate question for the episode, and it's just a nice, simple one this weekend. Who's going to win, Richmond or Geelong? Just check our Insta stories, vote there, and let us know who you think. And And let us know your margin as well. If you just send us a DM and let us know your margin, and even a Norm Smith medalist if you've got one too. So I'm not going to ask you who you think's going to win, because that's obvious. You obviously think Geelong's going to win, but
no problem. By 40 points.
But I do think Richmond are going to win, and I think you guys will win by, I'm going to say 12 points.
I'm going to tip us as well, obviously. I reckon you're. I'm going to. I don't know. I reckon it's going to be within. I'm going to say about three goals, about 18 points. I reckon.
Yeah.
3 goals. I think it's going to be too close to call though. Who's your tip for Norm Smith?
I'm going to go Shea Bolton.
Shea.
He's had a great season, and I think this will really top it off.
He has, hasn't he? He has had a great season. Like I said before, it wouldn't surprise me if someone like Shea, like unexpected, or even Toby Nankervis got it. But I mean,
you can't go past the man.
Yeah, how do you go past him? He's won 2 now. Like, how do you go past him? But look, I don't know. There's so many players that could do it against on both sides.
Yeah.
You know, I honestly would not be surprised. Just say if Richmond win, fingers crossed. If Richmond win, and Dangerfield won on the losing side, it wouldn't surprise me, because he's got that ability to do that.
Yeah,
so
that's true.
Look, it's too hard to say. I'm going to go to Dusty, the easy one.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah, I think Shea Bolton wins it, but I think as a fairy tale story, Gary Ablett to win a Norm Smith in his last game would be incredible, wouldn't it?
Yeah, it would be.
Yeah.
It would be. And he's just the same. If he kicks 4 goals again this week.
Yeah. But that's a medal. That's probably the only medal he hasn't won either.
Yeah. So a bit similar to Dangerfield in that sense. There's only one thing they both don't have, and Gaz is a Norm, and Paddy's is a premiership.
Yeah.
So
So there's storylines everywhere for this game. The potential's huge, and really looking forward to it as a neutral. But yeah, check out our story for that, and let us know your predictions for the weekend, and we'll try to get back to you if you do DM us with your predictions as well. But that is it for our big grand final preview. It's been great.
It's been massive.
It's been huge. I know you've been shaking the whole time. You're that nervous for the game.
I've kicked the table a few times, that's for sure.
But no, it's been good. It's been good to be back in the studio to talk face to face, and it's great timing that we get to preview the grand final in the studio as well. So it is great, and it's been a lot of fun, hasn't it?
Oh, definitely. Been a great season. Obviously, we're not just finishing today, we're sticking around, so can't get rid of us that easy.
Yeah, we'll have all the trade news and free agency stuff over the next few weeks as well.
Exactly, and grand final review.
Yeah, absolutely. So we won't be stopping anytime soon. So, but it is the penultimate weekend of footy. It's been a long season, but we finally got there. And I reckon the AFL's done a great job, haven't they?
They've done a fantastic
job. Season done.
Yeah, you can say what you want about the AFL. People question their decisions early on about starting and then stopping again and this and that. But look, all in all, they've done a great job. Yeah. And you can't... Look, I think the most questionable decision for the whole season is shipping up a bit of grass from the MCG and putting it on the Gabba. And if that's the most questionable decision they've made all year, I think we're pretty safe.
We'll take that.
Yeah, we'll take that. Especially gives Richmond a home ground advantage.
Oh, no, don't.
Finish off on a bang.
But yeah, as we say every episode, make sure you leave us a review. Subscribe to us on YouTube. Follow us on Spotify. All the support's greatly appreciated, and it definitely doesn't go unnoticed, so keep them coming through. But yeah, have a great weekend. Stay at home. Don't have a crazy grand final party because we're not allowed to yet, and don't ruin all the hard work we've been doing. And yeah, enjoy the grand final wherever you're watching it.
Go Tigers.
Go Tigers.
Pressure point! Pressure point! Pressure point! Pressure point!